President, in the last 24 hours, Senator McConnell has announced that the Senate will still be in session in August. Now, I don't know of any senator that loves being in Washington, D.C. in August. Quite frankly, it's a hot, humid, miserable place. I'd much rather be back in Oklahoma with other folks that I serve, getting a chance to spend some time there. The Senate's in session 11 months of the year. The only month we're not in session traditionally is August. But we have a problem. The work is not getting done in the Senate. And if the options are whether to be in Washington, D.C. and get the work done, or to be back in my state, seeing the folks in my state, but knowing that the legislative work is undone, then the decision should be get the work done. Senator McConnell announced yesterday that in August we'll be here. We have two big issues, is the reason that we should be here in August to be able to get some things done. One is the nominations issue. This is an issue that's quite frankly picked up a lot of speed this year. Last year in our nominations process, we had a record slow process to try to get nominations through. This year, more nominations have gotten through. But let me just give you an example of what we're up against. In the past 6 presidents, there have been a total of 25 cloture votes for nominations in the first 2 years of their presidency. 25 total, all 6 combined. Right now, President Trump is at 100 cloture votes so far for his nominations. They may say, what's the big deal about that? Each one of those basically consumes a full day on the Senate floor. Each one. Now, in the past, if it was a controversial nominee, there'd be additional time that'd be requested. That time would be done, but it had been done 25 times over 6 presidents. Now to do it 100 times for President Trump is obvious. It's intentionally slowing the Senate down. Because when we're dealing with what's called post-cloture debate time on a nominee, you can't deal with anything else. You can't deal with legislation. You can't deal with any other topic. So the Senate comes to a stop. 100 days have been lost just doing that. Lost time. We have a lot of nominees that still need to go through, that traditionally went through by voice vote or went through in rapid succession. The White House still has a lot of nominees. They're due to send to us as well. They can continue to be able to send those nominees, but the nominees that are here, that have gone through the committee process, that have been fully vetted, it's time to be able to bring those to a vote so the president can have his staff. In 2013, Republicans and Democrats agreed together. Things started to slow down a little bit in 2012 on some nominees. And so Republicans and Democrats together came together to change the rule for how much time would be set aside for nominees. Harry Reid did a presentation during that time period and supported a proposal, 2 hours of time for district court judges, 8 hours of time for just about everybody else, except for Supreme Court, Circuit Court, and Cabinet. They'd be 30 hours still. Republicans joined Democrats in 2013 and agreed on that. And for a 2-year time period, Republicans and Democrats agreed alike that that was a reasonable amount of time post-cloture debate. 2 hours, 8 hours, or 30 hours, depending on who that was. That expired at the end of 2014. I've brought that back up. I brought it to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee has debated it. The Rules Committee has now voted it out of the committee. My simple recommendation is this was a Democrat proposal in 2013 for that time period. I think if it was good for the Democrats in 2013 and 14, it should be good for Republicans or Democrats from here on out. To not just have it for the next 2 years, but to say that's a simple rule to get the Senate back to functioning again. My concern is now with 100 cloture votes that have been done in the past year and a half on nominations, that next time that there's a Democrat president, and there will be at some future time, next time there's a Democrat president, you can be assured Republicans are going to do at least 100 cloture votes to them and will slow down government just as much. That doesn't help us long term. We've got to be able to get out of this cycle, and we're in a downward cycle of trying to be able to deal with nominees. We need to be here in August to work through nominees because we've not had enough time because 100 days have been lost just sitting on a cloture vote waiting on that to happen. The second aspect of this I want to remind people of is this. We need to be here in August to be able to work through this time period because appropriations need to be done. 18 of the last 20 years, this Congress has done an omnibus bill. that has taken the 12 different appropriation bills, thrown them all together with no amendments, getting the text of it the night before, and saying everyone just vote on it tomorrow. 18 of the last 20 years. We have bad muscle memory. 25 years ago, this Congress would debate one at a time those bills, would bring them up onto the floor and amend them. Democrats and Republicans would have input into these bills, and then they would pass. And then they'd be conferenced with the House and would go to the White House for signatures. That really wasn't that long ago. But quite frankly, college students that are graduating right now have no memory of this Congress ever doing the appropriations process the right way. It's never happened in their lifetime. We've got to fix this. The argument has been we only have 50 work days left before the end of the fiscal year. The only way to be able to get some of those work days back is to be able to add in August. We have got to get the appropriations process back on track. I would hope most of this body can remember the early morning hours in March of this year when this Senate passed a 2,232-page omnibus bill that 0 members in this body had read because there was physically not enough time to even read it. We got it late one night and had to pass it the very next night. In fact, the House passed it at noon the next day, merely hours after they received the bill. We can't do this. We can do better. But the only way to do it is to get time back in our schedule. So I do commend the leader for putting time back in the schedule. Senator Perdue and myself and 14 other senators wrote him a letter and just said we need to consider this to get nominations done, to get appropriations done. If we cannot get the work done in the time we have, we've got to make more time, and we've got to be able to get this done. I commend the leader for this, but I also challenge this body to say we should not squander the days that we have. None of us are going to enjoy being here in August when there are lots of other things we'd like to do in our home states. But let's get the work done, because it's important for the future of the country, and the country expects us to be able to finish well what we're doing. With that, Mr. President, I yield back.